If you're navigating perimenopause, you already know that your mornings can feel chaotic. Your body is shifting in ways that are hard to predict. Your energy fluctuates, and you're dealing with hormonal changes that affect everything from your mood to your metabolism. One of the most powerful tools you have right now is understanding cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. When cortisol levels are dysregulated during perimenopause, everything gets harder. Your sleep suffers, your cravings intensify, your anxiety spikes, and weight management becomes nearly impossible. But here's the good news. The first few hours after you wake up are absolutely critical for setting your cortisol rhythm for the entire day. If you're ready to take control of this phase of your life, subscribe to this channel for more science-backed strategies that actually work during perimenopause. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 3 specific evidence-based steps that you can implement tomorrow morning to begin restoring healthy cortisol patterns. These aren't complicated or time-consuming. They're practical, they're grounded in research, and they're designed specifically for bodies in perimenopause. Let's start with understanding why your cortisol is probably dysregulated in the first place. During perimenopause, your estrogen and progesterone levels are erratic. Your body is literally confused about what signals to send to your adrenal glands, which produce cortisol. This confusion often results in cortisol patterns that are completely different from what they were in your 30s or 40s. Some women wake up with cortisol that's too high, leading to immediate anxiety, racing thoughts, and that sense of dread before your feet even touch the floor. Other women wake up with cortisol that's too low, which means they feel groggy, unmotivated, and exhausted no matter how much sleep they got. The goal is to establish a natural, healthy cortisol awakening response. This is the small, natural rise in cortisol that should happen in the first 30 minutes after waking. It helps you feel alert, focused, and ready to move through your day. When this response is broken or missing, you're already behind before you even start. Now let's move into the first step of your morning routine, and this is absolutely foundational. The first thing you need to do when you wake up is get light exposure, specifically natural light, and you need to do it within the first 30 minutes of waking. I know this sounds simple, but the science here is profound. Light exposure in the morning, especially natural sunlight, directly signals to your brain that it's time to be awake. This triggers a cascade of neurochemical events that includes the appropriate release of cortisol. Your circadian rhythm depends on this light signal more than almost anything else. When you get morning light, you're essentially telling your brain, your adrenal glands, and your entire endocrine system that it's daytime. This synchronizes your cortisol curve so that it's high in the morning, supporting alertness and energy, and then gradually declines throughout the day so you can sleep well at night. During perimenopause, this signal often gets weakened, which is why so many women report that their sleep is terrible, even when they're trying to maintain good sleep hygiene. They're not getting that morning light signal, so their entire circadian rhythm is out of sync. The specific recommendation is to get at least 10 to 30 minutes of natural sunlight within the first hour after waking, and ideally closer to that first 30-minute window. You don't have to stare at the sun, and you absolutely should not damage your eyes. Just go outside, let the light hit your skin and your eyes, and move around gently. If you live in a climate where it's dark or overcast in the morning, or if you work night shifts, you can use a light therapy lamp that provides at least 10,000 lux. But natural sunlight is always preferable when you can access it. This step alone has been shown in research to improve cortisol patterns within just 3 to 5 days. Women in perimenopause who committed to morning light exposure reported better sleep, less daytime anxiety, improved mood, and better energy levels by the end of the first week. This is not placebo. This is neurobiology. The second step in your cortisol control routine happens immediately after that morning light exposure, or even simultaneously. You need to move your body gently. This is not about intense exercise. This is about intentional, gentle movement that wakes up your nervous system without shocking it. The reason this is so important during perimenopause is that your nervous system is already sensitive. Your hormonal fluctuations have made your stress response hyperactive. If you wake up and immediately jump into a high-intensity workout or a stressful day without preparing your nervous system, you're sending a stress signal before you've even had your coffee. This activates your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight system, even more aggressively than usual. This causes cortisol to spike higher than it should, which throws off your cortisol rhythm for the entire day. What you want instead is to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, first. This primes your body to be calm and resilient. Gentle movement does this beautifully. What counts as gentle movement? Think about stretching while you're still in bed or right after you get out of bed. Gentle yoga, which might be 15 to 20 minutes of flowing poses. A slow walk, especially outside in that natural light we just talked about. Tai Chi, which is incredibly effective for nervous system regulation. Even dancing slowly to music you love. The key is that your heart rate should not elevate significantly. You should feel like you're waking your body up, not exhausting it. This movement should feel good and sustainable, not punishing. The research on this is really interesting. Women in perimenopause who did even just 10 minutes of gentle morning movement before starting their day showed significantly better cortisol patterns, lower baseline anxiety, and less reactivity to stress throughout the day. Their cortisol awakening response was appropriate, and then it declined naturally as the day went on. When they skipped this step, their cortisol remained elevated for hours, which contributed to anxiety, poor food choices, and disrupted sleep that night. The beauty of this step is that it takes very little time, it feels good, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. You're not punishing yourself. You're honoring your body's needs during this transition. The third and final step is what happens in your digestive system within the first hour after waking. And this is where many women miss a critical opportunity. What you eat and drink immediately after waking has a direct impact on your cortisol levels and your blood sugar stability for the entire day. During perimenopause, your insulin sensitivity is already changing. Your body doesn't handle carbohydrates or sugar the same way it did before. This means that what goes into your body first thing in the morning is incredibly important. Here's what you want to do. First, start with hydration. Before you have anything else, drink a glass of room temperature water, ideally with a pinch of sea salt and maybe a squeeze of lemon. This rehydrates your system after sleep and helps prepare your digestive system for food. Then, within the next 30 to 60 minutes, eat a balanced breakfast that includes protein, healthy fat, and complex carbohydrates. This is not the time for a juice cleanse, a coffee on an empty stomach, or a tiny yogurt. Your body is in perimenopause, and it needs real nutrition to stabilize cortisol and blood sugar. A good example would be eggs with avocado and whole grain toast, or Greek yogurt with berries, nuts, and seeds, or a smoothie with protein powder, healthy fat like almond butter, and fruit. The protein is absolutely critical because it stabilizes blood sugar and supports neurotransmitter production. When your blood sugar crashes first thing in the morning because you only had coffee and a bagel, your cortisol spikes again to compensate. Your body treats low blood sugar like a stressor, and it responds by releasing more cortisol to mobilize energy. Then you're back in that dysregulated cycle. Protein also helps you feel satisfied and focused, and it supports your mood and stress resilience. Healthy fats are equally important because they slow down the absorption of carbohydrates, which keeps your blood sugar more stable. They also support hormone production and brain health, both of which are critical during perimenopause. Complex carbohydrates provide sustained energy without the blood sugar spike that refined carbohydrates create. These three macronutrients together create a stable foundation for your entire day. Here's something really important to know about this third step. It's not about restriction or counting calories. It's about nourishment and stability. Women in perimenopause often fall into the trap of undereating in the morning because they're worried about weight gain. This actually backfires. When you undereat in the morning, your cortisol stays elevated because your body perceives this as scarcity, another form of stress. Then your metabolism becomes even more dysregulated. Instead, you want to eat enough to feel satisfied and energized. You should feel good about 30 to 40 minutes after eating. Not hungry and definitely not overstuffed. If you're liking the practical approach to perimenopause wellness that we're covering here, please like this video. It helps us continue creating content that's actually useful for women in this phase of life. Now let's talk about putting these 3 steps together as an actual morning routine that you can realistically do. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistency and self-compassion. Your ideal morning would look something like this. You wake up, and within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you get out of bed and get natural light exposure. This might mean going outside, sitting by a window, or using a light therapy lamp if you need to. Maybe you step outside for a walk, or you do some gentle stretching while looking out the window. These two steps can overlap. You're getting light and moving gently at the same time. This takes about 15 to 30 minutes total. Then you come back inside, drink a glass of water with a pinch of sea salt, and prepare a balanced breakfast that you eat within 60 minutes of waking. This entire routine takes 45 minutes to an hour, and it's the most powerful investment in your cortisol health and your overall well-being during perimenopause. If your mornings are really chaotic and you can't do the full routine, prioritize them in this order. Light exposure is number 1. If you can only do one thing, get that light. Movement is number 2. Balanced breakfast is number 3. But ideally, you're doing all 3. What about coffee? This is the question I get all the time. The science is clear. Wait until after you've done these 3 steps before you have your coffee. Coffee increases cortisol, and when you have it on an empty stomach or before your circadian rhythm has been properly signaled, it amplifies the dysregulation. If you have coffee after your breakfast and your light and movement, you're working with a much more stable cortisol baseline, and the coffee boost is less likely to cause problems. You can also consider switching to herbal tea in the morning for a few weeks to see if you notice an improvement in your cortisol symptoms. Many women find that even just shifting their coffee habit to later in the morning makes a tremendous difference.